DocsAutomator now allows you to send emails after every document generation. In your automation, you find this section 5. This works for any data source. In section 5, additional actions after document generation. And here you find the send email section. In my case here, it's an invoice automation, and I want to send those invoices to recipients after documents are generated. So I toggle this on, and then I can specify my email content here. If I click on this edit email button, this opens this interface where the first thing I want to do is I want to select the recipient. The recipient is dynamic in my case, so I could select the static recipient here, where I just type in test.com, and then this would be static. You might have use cases where that's okay and is enough. In my case, it is dynamic. I have a variable called client email, which I'm also adding to my documents, and therefore I can now basically specify the recipient dynamically of those emails. Then my subject line is invoice, and then I add an invoice number. So if I do / here in this field, then I can select from a drop-down again from the placeholders that I'm using, the variables that I'm using in my document. And then I say dear here in the content field. As you can see, we have a few more options to format, but here again I can add / and I can say dear client name, please find your invoice attached. Best Rupert. And that's it. I click on Save Changes, and now I've specified everything I need to send emails right after every document generation. We're also going to test this in a second, but first I want to show you something else, which is conditions. Sometimes you might not want to send an email in every case. Sometimes you just might want to send an email if a certain condition is met. So in my Airtable base here, for instance, I have this invoice identifier, and maybe I want to only send invoices out if the invoice identifier has P-, right? So I can click here on this settings toggle. I can say only send email if the invoice number, that's what this field invoice identifier is mapped to in my data mapping part. If the invoice number contains P-, save changes. So now I have selected, I've set a condition under which I want to send those emails. So now we also test this. I go into my base. I'm using DocsAutomator's Airtable extension that lives here in the extension store. But as I said before, this email sending works for any data source. So if mapping doesn't happen inside of DocsAutomator's interface, if you're using Glide, for instance, or you're integrating via API, where mapping happens outside of DocsAutomator's interface, then those variables are still there, and you can still use whatever you're passing for that variable. So all of this works for any data source. Now I want to generate my invoice here. I select automation invoices 2024 is the automation, as we saw. And then I say single record, yes. And it's this one, Modestine Boyce. I click on create document, and this now initiates document creation. We should see the PDF appear here any second. And here we go. I just went into my emails, received this email with all the details that we specified earlier, has the PDF attached here. And that's how easy it is to send emails after every document generation using DocsAutomator.